Hey you guys, we are back with another video, and today I want to talk about self-love in regards to intensity. So, most people that struggle with depression or anxiety or like low self-esteem or self-harm or whatever it may be, they suffer from these conditions because they are too intense. And what I mean by intense, here's a practical example, right? So let's say that there's a scale of levels, and these levels go from 0 to 1,000. And what these levels, each of these levels represents the amount of intensity in regards to the amount of stimuli that is applied onto the human body. So for example, if I was to touch myself like lightly, that would score relatively low on the scale, let's say maybe like 100. Whereas if I were to hit myself, that would be much higher on the scale in terms of intensity, somewhere maybe like 600. So in regards to this scale of intensity, self-love is knowing what your own personal threshold is on this scale and sticking within it. So some people, for example, have a very low threshold when it comes to stimuli. So they can only tolerate intense experiences up to, let's say, anywhere from level 0 to level 300. And then there are some people who are accustomed to higher levels of intensity, going from, let's say, levels 500 to 800, right? So these people they indulge in like more intense activities and experiences, like, for example, skydiving, compared to, let's say, staying at home and reading a book. Where these levels of intensity become a problem is when it is too intense and you are unable to handle it. So if we were to take this to an extreme and say those that indulge in self-harm, those would be at a level of 1,000 on the scale, because it is a very intense experience. So what you need to realize is that the difference between pleasure, which is aka self-love, nurturing yourself, taking care of yourself, and pain, where you are hurting yourself, they're the exact same thing, just on different intensity levels on the scale. So let's say you go for a massage because your muscles are very tense, right? And so you want to relieve that pain and tension that's built up in your body. That might score somewhere around 400 in terms of intensity. And it's something that feels good when you're doing it, when you're in that moment. At the same time, it's also kind of painful, right? Because you're releasing, those tight muscles that have been wound up from all that stress that you've been enduring. So that's an example of how pleasure and pain are interlinked. They're not separate things. It's like yin and yang, right? They're not two separate things. They're the same thing, just on different levels of intensity. Like light and dark. Again, it's the same thing, just on different levels of intensity. It just so happens that light is more intense and dark is less intense, or maybe you could put it the other way around, right? Light is less intense and the darkness is more intense. That's why you can't see anything in the dark. So people that struggle from self-harm just need to realize that it's not a bad thing. It's just that you are applying too much force and too much intensity to yourself in an attempt to show yourself self-love. And that is why it manifests itself in a painful manner. So those that indulge in self-harm, or let's say the more negative habits that society deems is unacceptable, they are just trying to show themselves self-love. The same way that you would go to a massage parlor to relieve your tense muscles. It is a form of self-love. They're on the same spectrum. It is just that the intensity is taken too far. And so what you need to realize is that if you want to stop any kind of bad habit you have, it doesn't have to be self-harm, right? Any kind of addiction or bad habit or anything that's out of your control, it is a form of self-love. You just have to decide whether or not it's too intense. And maybe in the moment, you decide that that is the best way to show yourself love. Then that's all you really need to accept, right? Don't think of it as I'm doing something bad. Think of it as I am trying to show myself self-love because no one else does. But I may be doing it in too intense of a manner. That's why, for example, some people, when it comes to sex, some people engage in more violent acts where they like to get tied up and like whipped and, you know, choked and beaten. And they enjoy it. Whereas compared to other people, they may prefer a more gentle form without all the choking and the beating, more sensual, gentle touch and intimacy with their lover. Again, it's all love, just on different spectrums of intensity. So when it comes to finding that balance, the biggest the easiest way to tell whether or not you're actually engaging in self-love or self-sabotage is the intensity to which you are performing the act. People that routinely engage in very intense activities. So examples of this are like binge eating, driving really fast in traffic, going skydiving, maybe. I don't know if skydiving is dangerous, but so like those are examples of very intense activities, right? Driving really fast versus just driving slowly. It's the same thing. You are still driving. It's just that the intensity that you apply to it in order to give yourself a more exciting and pleasurable experience also leads to greater amounts of danger and possibly self-harm and self-risk, right? Because if you drive really fast, that's dangerous compared to if you're driving at a more moderate pace. So the best way to find balance and be at peace with yourself, because you need to understand that if you engage routinely too high or too low on the scale of intensity, you are not going to be satisfied. And you are going to continuously seek experiences that don't give you the satisfaction that your soul is looking for. I'll give you a perfect example, okay? So introverts, people that can't stand a lot of stimuli, will rank relatively low on the spectrum of intensity, somewhere between 0 to 499. Extroverts will rank somewhere between 501 to 1000. So what is the level of 500, right? 500 is the level of perfect balance, where you are neither too intense or too underwhelming. You are neither too quiet or too loud. You are at peace. You are balanced. You are both sides of the same coin. And the way you routinely get yourself into this state of perfect balance of 500 is by engaging in activities that put you slightly above the scale and slightly below the scale. On different occasions. So for example, on one week you decide you want to engage in more intense activities. So you put yourself in many situations that are, let's say, 550 or 600. And then all of a sudden, because you've been doing that, now you're above the scale, right? You're above the intensity. So you gotta dial it down a bit and engage in acts that are now 400 or 450, right? And that's gonna bring you back down. But then at the same time, if you engage in acts or activities that are on the scale of 400 to 450, eventually you're gonna dip on the scale and you're gonna fall into the pattern of 400 and 450. And again, that is when you're gonna wanna seek greater levels of excitement. So then you go back to doing things again that are on like 550 or 600 to bring yourself closer and closer to that sweet spot of 500, which is perfect peace or perfect balance. And it's at this point that you're able to reach self-love. And then for those that are more experienced when it comes to why self-love is important, basically, the vibration of 500, aka self-love, is the highest vibration that there is. And so when you're in this very high vibrational state, you're able to manifest all of your desires to come towards you with effortless intention. So you don't have to try that hard compared to someone who is trying really hard, right? So the people that are trying to make things happen, you see this a lot in hustle culture, especially with the culture we have in society today, where people are always encouraging you to work harder, break through your limits, challenge yourself, push beyond your boundaries. That scores somewhere like 700 on the scale, 800, because again, it's very intense. Whereas from my experience, doing that only makes it more difficult for you to get what you want. Because again, the vibration in which all of your desires and all of your manifestations will occur is 500. But if you're operating at the intensity of 700 or 800, you are very far from the vibration of 500. The vibration of 500, of self-love, of perfect balance, is where you will get what you want. If you're too low, if you're too high on the spectrum, you are not going to get what you want, or at least it's going to take a lot longer for you to get what you want. You're going to have to spend more time waiting, or you may get something that that isn't necessarily exactly what you had in mind. So like, let's say you were looking for your dream house, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and like a big garden in your backyard. If you're operating at the vibration of 700, trying to make it happen, you're going around looking at houses every single day. You're online looking at every single real estate listing out there. You're putting in a lot of focus and intention and energy into this, and you're also kind of being very intense about it. You may not necessarily find what you're looking for because you are trying too hard, you're being too intense. So you may find something like 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom, or you may find something like 5 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom, 4 bedroom. Or you may find a house that's like exactly what you're looking for, but then there's no backyard. So it's going to be off ever so slightly because your vibration is off ever so slightly from 500. And the same goes for if you're too low on the scale, right? If you're not putting in enough work, then you're not gonna see your manifestation come to life. So when you understand this principle of vibration in regard to self-love, and you apply it to every single area of your life to achieve balance, then you will realize that everything will happen for you basically effortlessly. And this is why I talk about divine timing in my last video in regards to the numerology of 2023 and what's coming. Because on top of being patient, you also need to make sure that you are in the vibration of 500, of self-love. And that's where all of your manifestations will occur, because when you combine this, the vibration of self-love, 500, and balance, with patience and divine timing, then you basically are able to get everything you want without having to work hard for it at all. And then for some reason, for some people, they may be like, well, what's the point of learning all of this, right? If I work hard towards my goals, I'm able to get what I want. When I work hard, when I hustle, when I'm very hard on myself, when I'm very intense, I'm working, 18-hour days to get what I want. I get what I want. So why do I need to learn how to relax? Why do I need to learn how to vibrate at the spectrum of 500? It is like they say in Buddhist philosophy, right? The brightest candle burns the fastest. So if you want to hustle in order to get what you want and constantly push yourself on the vibrational scale of 700 or 800, you will get what you want. No question about it. It will come most likely quicker than if you were to be patient and waiting. At the same time, you're also going to burn yourself out that much more quicker. You're going to reach your goals, but then once you get there, you're not going to have the energy to enjoy them. Because then you'll be old. You'll have aged. You won't have your youth anymore to enjoy all the things that you've always wanted to enjoy. One of the biggest misconceptions in society today is that the only thing that matters is having a lot of money. And once you have a lot of money, then you can enjoy it to your heart's content. But they fail to realize that if you give up your health, your energy, your youth in order to acquire that money, how are you going to enjoy it? That's the ego talking, right? The ego wants to go around bragging and saying that, oh yeah, I'm a multi-billionaire. I've got tons of money in the bank. That's what the ego says. the human ego in society. They want to brag about how much money they have in the bank. But the spiritual wise guru says, that's very nice, you have a lot of money in the bank. How do you enjoy it? Do you even enjoy it? How happy are you? How fulfilled are you with life? And then to these people who have a lot of money in the bank, what is their response? They're like, oh, I don't need to enjoy myself. I have a lot of money in the bank. They've forgotten what it means. They've forgotten why they even set out on the path in the first place. They've lost sight of what truly matters, which is being joyful and happy. That's why you want to make sure that in every moment that you can, regardless of what you're doing, do your best to emulate the vibration of being at peace with whatever you're doing. Whether you're washing the dishes, whether you are working towards a goal, regardless of whether or not you're there or not. As long as you're working towards the goal, and no matter how slow you are going, you just have to trust that you will get there eventually in divine timing. There was I believe it was Plato, I can't remember. But there was a saying that no matter how slow a person is going, as long as they are making progress, do not criticize them. The quote was something along those lines. But basically, it's as long as you're making progress, no matter how slow it may be, if you're even taking just one step ahead every month, or every year, you're taking one step closer towards your goals. That's all that matters. Even if that means, let's say you want to lose weight. Even if that means going for a walk once every year, and then spending the rest of the year doing absolutely nothing, that is already good enough. And for those that are listening to that right now, you may find it hard to believe. But the truth is that it has taken me a very long time to accept that the wisdom that is behind that statement. Because what happens in reality is that once you accept that mindset, that wisdom, and you start embodying that way of life, where you're content with only taking, where you're content with, let's say, only working 1 out of 364 days, the rest will happen for you naturally. You will find naturally that you want to spend more of those days working towards your goals. So you set your expectations really low, right? As long as I'm able to exercise for 1 out of 364 days, that is good enough. I've hit my goals. I'm proud of myself. Once you are able to accept that mindset, you begin to vibrate at the level that is closer to 500. At the level of contentment, at the level of being proud of what you have done. And because now you're giving off that vibration, like that emotional state, you are feeling good. And because you're feeling good, you are more inclined to do things that make you feel better and better and better, which will eventually lead you to your goal in the most efficient way possible. So not only are you hitting your goals as efficiently as possible, you are also taking the route that feels the best to you, the most enjoyable to you, to do so. So you get the best of both worlds, right? You are enjoying yourself to the highest degree that you possibly can, and you are also hitting your goals at the same time in the most efficient way as possible while feeling good. So the difference, if you're looking purely in terms of efficiency, which is what human society does, which is the issue, they look purely at efficiency, they don't look at whether or not the process is enjoyable. So what I'm trying to share with you, this process will be, in some cases, maybe a little bit slower, but you're feeling good the entire way, in the entire time that you're doing it. It's like running a marathon, right? You want to feel good and refreshed when you hit that finish line and throughout the entire journey, rather than struggling, out of breath, and exhausted the entire way. And even though I just said that it may be a bit slower, in my personal in my personal experience, this has never actually been the case. I have always reached my goal far quicker than if I had tried to take the most efficient route. So if I had tried to burn myself out to try and get to my goal as fast as possible, versus comparing it to taking the route that feels the best in every moment, the route that feels the best in every moment will actually get me to where I want to go faster than if I took the most efficient route. It's a paradox, but that is just how it works. That is how the universe works. And that's why I'm sharing it all with you right now. Because for me to get to where I am today, just making YouTube videos while sitting in like this nice garden, watching the birds go by, watching the blue skies and the clouds just on the horizon, and being at peace with the world. A view like that, and being able to enjoy a moment like that, is an example of feeling good and also reaching your goals in the most efficient way possible. So I'm doing both right now, right? Compared to other people who may be making YouTube videos as well, but they're in the mindset of hustle and suffering, so they're not enjoying the process of making the video. Whereas I am right now enjoying the process of making this video. And so I know that it's going to turn out really good. Regardless of how many likes I get, or comments or whatever. Regardless of how popular I become on YouTube. It doesn't matter. Because I already have what I want, right? I'm enjoying myself in this moment, and I'm enjoying this wonderful scene that is in front of me. I don't have to wait to become a big YouTube star or a popular spiritual coach and guru before I'm able to enjoy my life. I can enjoy it now because I don't have the expectation or the attachment that I have to reach my goals before I get to that point. And for the longest time, that was not the case. I was having the mindset of not allowing myself to enjoy life until I had reached my goals. That's why some people are like desperate to be in a relationship, because they feel like they can't be happy until they have reached that goal. That's why some people work so hard in order to become a millionaire, because they feel they can't be happy until they reach that goal. You need to decide for yourself how you want to live your life, regardless of what society says, regardless of whether or not you disappoint your parents, regardless of what your wife or your kids says. Because they have no idea how to live life. If they're presenting those kinds of mindset and viewpoints to you, they're coming from a place of unfulfillment. They need something outside of themselves to fulfill their needs. And so by buying into that logic and the mindset that they're trying to share with you, you are going to be operating on the same vibrational frequency as them, which is that of unfulfillment. So doing what they say will lead to the path of unfulfillment. It's crazy, but it's true. And that's what everyone in society is doing. That's why everyone is miserable. And that's why everyone is irritated. And that's why we have so many problems. Because everyone is unfulfilled. But what I'm sharing with you is a secret to fulfillment. And the matter of fact is that if everyone in society today were to adopt this principle of fulfillment in their life, all the problems that are present today would disappear, because everyone would be giving off the vibration of self-love and fulfillment. And so there would be no problems in this world anymore, because everyone is vibrating on the level of fulfillment. Everyone is vibrating on the level of contentment. So everywhere you